All right, so what do we have? We have a blaster, I believe, right?
Yep.
And you are like approaching 225 or something?
I'm trying to approach 215 first.
Okay.
Right now I'm 213.
Okay. It's probably better to get to 215 first so that you can easily get to 220 from there. You don't want to skip levels. Okay.
No, I don't know how to do that.
If only. You're like 250 in no time. So, what is your like playing regimen like kind of look like?
Yeah, usually, so we work full time, so usually like maybe average 3 hours on the weekdays, and then weekends like all day.
Okay. And you predominantly like train with totems on weekends, and then during the weekdays it's mostly like dailies and.
Oh yeah, I'm kind of bad. I don't really train. I've been just slowly working on this character.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's been leveling more from bosses than anything else, really.
Okay.
Right now there's an event, so I actually do my Arcane River dailies.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. But yeah, I'm okay to slowly work through this character. I just play for fun.
For sure, yeah. So are you like opposed to training for longer sessions, or is it just something you only do when there's big events like haste or something like that?
That helps a lot. Like, I could do it, but I don't know. I like it when there's like you're doing two things at once and being efficient.
Mm-hmm.
That always makes it feel better. So yeah, but not opposed to it. Like, if there's some kind of goal that we can reach by knowing how much to put in for that, I could do it. It just, if there's more direction, I guess it feels a little bit better. Mm-hmm. Right now, I'm just doing it because of the event.
I see. Yeah. I do understand that with a lot of characters. I want to make sure that even my training is functional. Like I'm moving up to a harder boss, or I'm also making money, or also getting certain drops at the same time, so that it feels like you're getting better value out of your time.
Mm-hmm.
So what have you been able, speaking of that, like which bosses are you killing now and which ones are you working towards?
Yeah, so I just did, from CRA, I can do Pierre and Queen. Sorry, not Pierre, Bon and Queen, and then Pierre, I need to get Seth to help me struggle with his Dawn Warrior.
Mm-hmm.
I die like instantly in Vellum right now.
Okay.
So
yeah.
That's the current situation. But I do have the Fake So Lab, so I've been right now just starting to work on hard Golix and hard Magnus just for the mechanics, and that's pretty rough right now, but I just started working on that. We'll see how that goes.
Did that change now because of the Awake update?
How do you mean?
Because I heard from some people that the combos are more forgiving now and easier to perform.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So in Ursus, I used to never be able to combo, and now I can combo. So there's that. And seems a little smoother because I can get in more bunker busters than I could before in the 30 seconds. So yeah, it seems to be overall. But yeah, this isn't a good update for Blaster.
Mm-hmm. And
the job skill is really good. So.
And was some recharge also faster or something? Like
I'm not sure about that. I haven't really tested that part.
Yeah, I think someone was talking about how there was some skill that took like 6 or 7 seconds to register or to recharge before, and now it does it in like 2 seconds or something. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about the ins and outs.
I wonder if they're talking about reloading.
Oh, that might be it.
But yeah, but you don't really reload. Usually you try not to reload. You try to use the charge mastery thing so that you don't have to reload anyway.
Mm-hmm. Oh, right, because you use like it like auto reloads with every 5 stacks or something.
Every time you do charge, once you get it to combo training 2, it'll reload 2 bullets every time you like do bobbing or weaving and cancel, or any charging skill, and you can cancel it or not. But yeah, that's the combo. Oh, sorry, charge mastery 2. I don't have it on here, but it'll reload 2 bullets when you use a charging skill.
Okay. Is the main problem in Vellum that you don't really have? Because I don't know if you want to talk specifically about CRA, maybe just a little bit insight that can help. Because for Clown, I guess the big problem is that you hit both parts and you probably can't kill pre-split, right? So that makes it tricky.
Yeah, and I watched your video on Clown, and my brain, I can't figure it out for some reason where I'm supposed to go. So I think I need more practice, and I get frustrated by it. So for now, I've been struggling it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll keep trying. I think right now, Hard Golic seems like the most possible one that I could practice and get through it. Hard Magnus sounds like it's gonna be so annoying. I just want to rage respawn every time.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah. If you, there's two main ways to do it, right? There's just the actual rage respawn and actually just burst them down, and then there's just the more safe, just wait for your cooldowns, and then the second one is more guaranteed clear, but it definitely not as satisfactory as just running into him, and but yeah, then you get smacked once, and it also talks about other stuff, right? If you have the resistance link and everything, if you have that one leveled up quite high, that also helps with...
Oh yeah, Seth was mentioning that. I just need the Wild Hunter now.
Okay, yeah.
That's my last one. Blaster was actually, I created it for the resistance link, and I ended up playing it instead.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, that's how it happens, right? Whenever people are like, oh, what should I make first? It's like, well, you can make some links, and then, but if you really like a character while you're making links, then, you know, go for it. Give it a try and see how far you go. And I see you went further than most people do with Blaster, I think. A lot of people, I think, leave it at 140, or they complain about how their hands hurt. See that a lot.
Oh yeah, it depends on how you. After I watched a few videos and changed my key bindings around, and it's way better now.
Yeah, I think I would do that too.
It's really fun though. There's so much stuff in the kit that can help you survive. You just have to practice and get better.
Mm-hmm. The mobility can help you dodge a lot of attacks, right?
Oh yeah, the mobility is awesome. I love that you can up jump 6 times. That's like a great selling point for Blaster.
I remember in the event map, if you did you just went full up jump, you would reload before you landed, and you could like infinitely go up, and then you would teleport back down because of the ceiling.
Yeah, I heard there was a bug. I don't think I was playing Blaster as much at the time. This is like more of a recent thing, but yeah, I did hear about that. That's really funny.
You could go all those AFK maps were weird in general with you know, they had the balloons flying around, but yeah, with the Blaster you could go all the way to the top so high that it would teleport you back down.
That's funny.
But I guess that can help you in some bosses. You have a bunch of iframes, right, as Blaster?
I have like a few, and then I also have, you can guard with bobbing and weaving and hammer smash, so that helps. Sometimes you don't need, or like you can reduce the damage by 35%, so that helps in a lot of cases.
Oh yeah, that helps.
Like Golix's hands you can guard and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Pretty good.
And because you said you die a lot in Vellum, so is that hard to apply there?
Oh, I haven't tried guarding his head coming up. I should try that. I've been trying to dodge it, but also unsuccessfully. I've only tried a few times so far. It's very discouraging.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember from olden days, like Vellum and then after that Damien were bosses that I had to try so many times on my DA. Just, yeah, endlessly trying to figure out what I was doing wrong, and then eventually getting it was so satisfactory though, but yeah, you have to throw some bodies at the problem before the solution shows itself sometimes.
Yeah, just throwing bodies at it every day. It's annoying for hard Golix because you only have that one try every day.
Yeah, that change is not great for and it doesn't have a practice mode, so that's a little unfortunate. Is the main, so I'm guessing because the main thing that kills most people in general in the first tries when you're doing Vellum is the red rocks, those stunning you.
Yeah.
Yeah. The major thing, and the thing that how I explain it is that the major way that you have to see the red rocks is that there's always a minimum distance between red rocks. So if you see a red rock on the corner of the screen, then you know there's a safe spot right behind it. But if you move a certain distance behind it, then there's a chance you're in another rock. But as long as you see one rock, then you know there's at least a certain distance in front of it and behind it where you're safe. And sometimes being closer to where Vellum went underground will trigger him popping up sooner, and that'll give you a little bit of time to get out of the way. Whereas if you go like very far from him, he'll typically pop up and then start shooting balls at you, and then maybe you hit a rock. but you have to find like the medium between the two where you stay far enough away from him in case if he pops up soon, you can get out of the way. And in case he pops up late, he can't really get to where you are yet until the rocks have fallen.
Oh, okay.
So it's
a good tip too about the you just need to know where one rock is, and you can tell where the other ones are. Because I'm trying to like remember where they all are, and then that just doesn't.
Yeah, yeah. Focusing on one is usually the best. Focus on one that's like a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right of where the boss is, and then focus on that one. The way I explained it in the beginning was like the spokes of a wheel, right? If you try to lock, I don't know if you guys have bicycles or use them a lot because it's not typical everywhere in the world, but if you have a bicycle, you typically have a lock that goes like through the spokes of your wheel, and then but if there's like a minimal distance between the spokes, and if the lock hits the wheel and you just randomly spin your wheel around, you know, because you want to get done, there's a chance that it hits another spoke, right? But if you hit it 1 centimeter, it's always spokeless because there's always like a minimal distance between the spokes. So that's way safer than just randomly spinning it. And that's kind of how moving around in Vellum is as well. But
I'll have to think about it that way.
Yeah.
And try again.
Yeah, because you have that last minute bob or weave that you can do. Probably weave, right, if he's coming towards you. But then you can weave into a rock and then, yeah. There's usually a tail whenever he pops up, and then that's end of story there, you know. Any other things in Vellum that are kind of tricky?
I think I need to try it a few more times, because the other thing I need to try is seeing like what I can guard and what I can't. That's usually a thing I have to test out. But I've only tried it like a couple times, so I just need to keep going in there. And I'm trying to decide, like, out of these 3 bosses that I'm working on, which one is the most like best value for time right now in terms of upgrades, because I do have the fake soul lab, so then I'm like less inclined to work on Vellum because I'm not going to get an upgrade from it. I'll get some money, which would be nice, but yeah, just wondering about which of the 3 is the most efficient to work on right now.
Yeah, the shards for both Magnus and for Vellum are tier SS, so that's the highest tier, so that's nice.
Oh, okay. True.
Vellum has an okay drop rate for like flames and cubes, but well, mainly for flames. Cubes is not great. But the thing that you do get value at is if you have the pieces for Vellum, then you can save those up to later when you go for real Abzo and full Abzo. Then you can use the Fafnir weapon as like a Star Force fodder, so that you don't have to risk blowing up the actual Abzo. You can just risk blowing up the Fafnir because you'll have a bunch of tickets as a backup, and then you can get value out of those emblems in that way. And then, you know, once you get to 17 or 18, or maybe just to 16, right, and then transfer hammer into Abzo, and then 15 to 17 again on Abzo, and then you can get very risk-free and pretty cheap 17 Abzo.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So there's value in that. For Magnus, there's definitely value in the cape in the short term. That has a very high drop rate. And then, well, yeah, all the other same drops. So the soul shards and the cubes and the flames, that kind of stuff. I guess the coins can also translate to the level 150 gloves that you can then later transfer hammer into the Abzo gloves, so you can kind of have the same value out of that.
What about hard Golics? I know it takes a long time to get the coins, so maybe that's kind of further on.
Takes a long ass time. You can get you can get reinforced drops, which aren't bad in themselves, but reinforced is kind of a big meme now because you can only get 2 of the pieces, and you would have to buy one of the other ones.
Right.
And those coins, you don't want to spend them on them. You want to save them for superior. So you basically just it's good to practice because once you get hard Golics down, you can transition into Helix more easily once you have just more damage. But until then, you're just getting a little bit of coins every time you clear him, and it'll be a long voyage to get to superior stuff by getting hard Lux clears only.
Oh, is that generally not really worth it, and you'd rather just wait until you can do Helix?
Probably. It's good to get familiar with the mechanics, but the familiars for Helix will be a little bit different because you'll have one extra piece that you have to play around anyway.
Yeah.
So that might be the least worth for now, but I do think the practice will help you get you know, because you can give someone a fuck ton of damage and then put him into a helix and they'll just die out because there's still weird mechanics you have to play around. Like someone who hasn't played MapleStory in a while, someone came back yesterday and was on their level 260 Kana and then just walked in and just died out in helix because they didn't know how the breath worked, right? So once you if you're armed with the mechanics and then you can put your damage to way better use, of course, then yeah. So there is some value there, but like once you get hardlocks down, it's probably not as worth to do it every single day anymore. It's maybe more more value in focusing on the progression and getting stronger so that you can start taking helix down.
Gotcha. Maybe Magnus is my like closest thing that's efficient right now to get new gear then that I should work on.
Yeah, cape will be helpful. It's a huge amount of attack and stat extra.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. Yeah, the thing with blasters, if I don't practice a boss like relatively like recently, I'll just like forget how to do it too. It's like muscle memory is part of it.
Okay.
That's what makes it so frustrating. I feel like I gotta like keep practicing this one boss so I can do it so that I can continue to do it.
Is it a bit, because you played Thunderbreaker before, right? Isn't it a bit similar for like where you need to stand and stuff?
I actually feel like the two classes are so different because Thunderbreaker, I get stuck in my animations a lot. She can, and most of her attacks make her move around too, so she has good mobility, but she gets stuck. The Blaster, you can cancel your attacks, which is, I think that's why I like Blaster so much, maybe. It's because I can actually cancel my attacks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I feel like they're pretty different because Thunderbreaker, I just spam the same two buttons over and over again for the most part. Blaster, I have to hold stuff down and cancel. Yeah. They both have close range though, so I guess that's pretty similar.
Yeah, they're pretty
like
melee.
Stick to the boss.
Okay. So past the slow progression and the current bosses that you're working on, what's do you have any like long-term plans on what you definitely want to be able to reach with the character?
Yeah, I think this character I want to do all the bosses on. So I think the further goal is to solo Lotus and Damien. So I'll just slowly work my way towards that.
So solo Lotus, Damien, and then maybe like party Lucid, or?
Yeah, maybe. That just sounds so far away that I don't really think about it yet. But yeah, that would be the direction I want the character to head in. For however long it's still fun to play the game, basically.
Yeah, but what seems to be fun for you is not necessarily like the ancient or like the hourless, endless grinding, but it's more the individual challenges of bosses and overcoming those, right?
The weird thing is, like, when I used to play as a kid, like 15 years ago, I loved the grinding, but I think it was because, you know, you'd be like talking to your party members and your guildmates at the same time, so it was just like a relaxing thing to do. I do like grinding on the Blaster too. I have to work on some of those mechanics as well. So yeah, I think it's fun learning the mechanics on Blaster. There's always so much more you can do and learn, and I think that's pretty fun. Yeah. But yeah, for the purposes of the gear progression, I guess my overall direction would be like solo Lotus and Damien. And I guess my like goal that's closer is Hard Magnus.
Okay. Well, the mechanics part, I'll leave that up to you, because I don't feel like I'm any kind of authority on Blaster.
I've been trying to watch some videos on that. It's going to be rough. The good thing is you can guard the spinny attack, so I was practicing that recently. But there's much more to do.
You could also up jump them if it's a little bit more risky, of course, if something falls.
Oh, I didn't even think to do. Oh yeah, the balls probably.
If a blue ball, if at the moment you jump, a fast blue ball shows up, then you're dead before you even land. If you do a regular jump, so if you do an up jump, it's very possible you jump into one. But yeah, I do tend to use that. It's pretty safe though. It very rarely happens, but I do tend to use up jumps. The main thing is though that he tends to do the web on you, and then swipes right after. So I always try to stay on the edge of the blue area so that I'm as far away from him as possible while staying as close as possible, basically. And then whenever he does web, I start slowly like edging away from him. And then if he does his blue spin, then I immediately start walking back. And then if he does a second blue spin, by that time usually the web's already gone, and then you can up jump. It's usually what I do.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't even tried that. Yeah, the web. I noticed he likes to do the spinny thing right after the web.
Yeah, it's like, oh,
I've
now
been,
you
like,
can't jump
charging,
anymore, and
like,
now...
Yeah, exactly.
Or you jump to try to get away, but it's only a jump, and then he hits you, and then you just get flung through like 5 balls and 3 mists.
Oh, yep.
Oh yeah, and always fight him in the middle of the map, right? Because in the sides is where the mist spawns. You never want that, so always fight in the middle.
Yep.
Yep.
I know, I always, like, I think that, but then I somehow end up there anyway, and I'm like, crap.
Yep.
So, yeah, I need more practice.
Sometimes it might be better to just like rage respawn and just go into the middle of the map and die there, so he ends up dashing into the middle to where you are, and then you can respawn with him in the middle.
Strategically.
Yeah, it's a strategic sacrifice of your own lives to, yeah. But it's worth, because if you have to like spend 3 lives getting him out of the corner, that's not very useful. It feels really shit too. So.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. So I have some things to try there then. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, and the main thing is, well, the main thing for most people is to just build around your binds and then just burst as much as possible. But do you rely on Urda bind? Because your self bind is not very useful for you, right?
It's I like to call it a party bind because I can't actually do anything while I'm binding. Or yeah, revolving blast. I usually take the Urda bind. But I'm giving up one of my boost nodes to do that.
Yeah,
But that's okay. I've invested in the main boost nodes for like 1 set of attacks, so it's not too bad.
Oh right, you have 4 boost nodes, right? Like 4 different ones.
I've got like, you mean like the slots or?
Well, that you have. Oh no, 3. You have 3. Yeah. So if you replace that 3rd one, it's not that much of a loss in DPS.
Yeah, because I have 2 that have like the exact same 3.
Yeah.
And so yeah, those ones are I just tend to use those attacks the most.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Okay. So I guess I'll look. Well, before I look at everything, I guess is there anything in the game, like any kind of upgrade thing or mechanic in the game that you feel like you don't know enough about yet that I could explain first?
I've watched a lot of your videos, and Seth tends to absorb the content pretty well and can like re-explain it to me, so I think we might be okay on that.
Okay.
One thing I do want to make sure we get to is like there is a cube sale, and I've been just sitting on some money that I've been gathering, but not sure how to use it yet, and I've been procrastinating, kind of figuring it out. So that might be helpful too. Yeah,
for sure. That's kind of like the last question, I guess, is like how much money you generally make in a week, and how much you have now. That would be a good.
Yeah, I don't know what the per week is, but right now I have about 18 bill to spend on stuff because I haven't been using it.
So you do Ursus and Maple Tour?
Ursus, Maple Tour. And then I do the weekly bosses on my Thunderbreaker. I do like almost all the daily bosses on my Blaster.
And Thunderbreaker is like up to CRA, or is that with HMAG included?
I can't do Vellum either, and I almost like don't really feel like learning Vellum on her, so I just do 3-door, but it's easy on her, so.
Okay, so that's like so it's like close to like, including some training and some events and some random stuff, like around like 1 to 1.3, 1.5 bill a week, something like that.
Yeah, probably. Honestly, I haven't even calculated that.
Yeah, just getting
most of my
general.
Money does come from the bosses.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to like be like, if you don't make at least that, then you're a liar or something. Just the general idea of like what kind of rate you're gonna be earning it back, that kind of thing. Yeah, and I'll definitely look at, of course, take into consideration the cube sale. That's also why I wanted to not wait too long to do the progression session, so you can have enough time to come up with like a plan, or that we can help you come up with a plan together, so that on Saturday you don't have to start trying to figure everything out, because then it's already like the pressure's on. And
yeah, appreciate that. Thanks.
Yeah, that's what I try to do it for my mom as well. Is like look ahead of time, be like, okay, what are you working with? What do you want to go towards? You know, do that every now and then. Might have to do that tomorrow for my mom as well, actually, because she's probably sitting on like 80 bill or something again, knowing her.
Oh wow.
She just
Yeah, I think I watched your last one. That's awesome that she just like stores the money, doesn't spend it.
yeah, she does. Well, she does like I don't want to make any mistakes, so I just spend nothing basically, and then
That's kind of honestly that's kind of how I feel too.
yeah. Okay, so let's see. So I look at your stat window. The main thing I want to look at is to see if you can reach like 100% crit guaranteed, right? That's very important because that means that all of your critical damage is applied. This is the stat window after the Asura stuff, right? No passive big buffs there.
This is like buffed with the usual things that I have on.
Yeah, combo training. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, combo training is the main one because of the 30% crit rate. Do you think it's worth going after that 2% extra to get it?
Yeah, I would always put 2 points into your hyperstats to get that last 2%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the easiest. That's like that costs you 3 points, and that gives you that extra 2% to clean that out. For this setup, I would do that 100% of the time. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
But we might have to redo your hyperstats in general anyway. But you know, we'll. Although, well, let me look at those. There's an 8 here. And 7, right? Because if you don't have 100% crit rate, you're basically losing some efficiency in your critical damage. Because every time you don't hit a crit, that doesn't get applied. So to make sure that those get full efficiency. In general, if 5 an attack, 1, 2, 4, 8, 10. It's 25. 10 and then 15, 20, 25. Yeah, so if you reset your attack and power points, you could get 1 extra level in damage instead, would be 3%. Stuff like that. Because in the beginning, like you kind of, you take some things to level 7 to level 8, and then every level you get so few points that you kind of just, put a few levels here, a few levels there. But then in the end, once you kind of reset everything, it ends up being some significant levels, and you can maybe get a bunch of things to like level 9 or something. So that's kind of what I'm looking at, because you don't have any problem with arcane power where you're training. Well,
I totally forgot I still have those 3 points there.
Yeah, and it's like 3 levels. 3 levels is not that much, but 3 levels here, 3 there, 5 there, 1 there. If you add all of that up, that might be 1 or 2 big levels together with the few points that you have. That might result in just getting like 6% damage, for example, and then that might be very useful. So that's kind of what I'm looking at.
Gotcha.
So I'm pretty sure 3 is, so it's 7, 7, 1, 15, 45, 25, so you have 70 points. 30, 40, 25, 55, 15 left. Which would be level 4. And do you need the arcane power for now to train, or?
No, I just forgot it's there. Yeah, no, that's fine.
Because I think, I think you'll end up with level 8. So, oh wait, you have 2 points. Oh yeah, 2 points in crit rate. Which I think you will need. Let me think of all the other sources of crit rate you have. Because everything else you take away. Well, let's circle back to that later, right? But that's something to think about. But the puzzle is not just in hyperstats, right? The puzzle is in hyperstats, some of your skills in your matrix, your legion, where you put the legion characters, that kind of stuff, right? That all of it puzzles together. So that's something that we'll circle back later to, but it's like something to keep an eye on.
Okay.
When it comes to your inner ability, what do you have any kind of ideas or ambitions surrounding that?
Yeah, so I haven't touched this one yet, but I know that +1, what is it, like +1 to your passives? I think that one is good for Blaster because I think it makes your combo training go up 1. But it seems like it's not like there's nothing that's too required besides that. One of the more lenient ones, I think.
Yeah. Sorry, that one was creeping up on me, so I couldn't really talk. Okay. Yeah, so that doesn't mean you have the liberty of not really needing anything specifically, which is good. Typically, what I do when I have that is that means I typically go for 20% meso-obtain, so that when I do train, I make more money. And then when I get to the point where I really want to min-max my character and squeeze out all the power that I can, then I re-roll out of that. But then in the meantime, I've made more money while training the whole time, because I don't have anything else that I significantly need to rely on in my durability.
Yeah, that's a good point. So what is that, 20% meso-obtain?
Yeah, so if you use circulators, if you roll meso-obtain on the first line, it'll always be a 20% line. Circulators always take the highest number within the available tier, so...
Let me just put a note here.
That's always nice. Yeah, typically I'd say keep an eye out for a circulator sale, but I don't think we've had one of those in over a year now, so it doesn't seem like they're doing those anymore. I definitely wait until after Saturday, right, to see where you end up with your potentials and everything. But I think that's a decent thing to do, and maybe also gives you a little bit more of that feeling like you're doing something, you're hitting like 2 birds in one stone while you're training, because you'll also be making more money.
I do like that, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Good call.
So that's good. Yes. The other thing that we look at in the stat window is your ignored defense. Have you ever calculated your functional IED?
I haven't calculated it. I do have, I think that's for skills, like active skills usually, right? That have IED. I don't think I have that, but maybe some blasters can correct me if I'm wrong. There are some buffs that we have that last for like I think 45 seconds or a minute. That's like 100% IED. It's like my attacks that have a really long cooldown. Some of them have 100%, but I don't know if that's worth accounting for. I'm not sure.
So the general answer is it depends on how much of your DPS those skills account for. If all of that combined accounts for like 90 to 95% of your DPS, then yeah, you don't really have to min-max that much. But if that only accounts for like 10 or 15%, then you still want to make sure that when you're off those skills, that your IED is significant enough to deal good damage to the bosses.
Okay.
Which I assume it's closer to the latter than to the former, right? It's closer to,
I think so.
So the one main thing that hopefully gives you IED is your boost nodes once you reach level 40. I don't know if you have level 40.
I'm getting close.
Oh, you're pretty close,
I think, on some of the skills.
Yeah.
They're like 35.
Magnum Punch, Bunker Buster, and Double Blaster at 35, yeah. So that would mean that you get 20% IED on those 3 skills individually. So that's a nice extra boost.
That's true, yeah. I forgot how close those were. I hadn't thought about that for a while.
Well, hopefully with the current event store, maybe you can get some notage there, and maybe those extra little jump that you need to get to 40.
I gotta make sure I cap coins on my blaster.
According to the Blaster Discord, you want 1 line from WSE combined with your guild skills is enough. Most guilds don't level up their IED guild skill, though. They will focus on the critical damage and the regular damage. And typically don't have... Okay. But I saw something else that we can get IED from, but I'll keep that in mind. Yes, then your final damage comes from your stacks. Your boss damage is looking good, so we'll keep an eye on that, but it's looking good. So resist critical damage, and then your arcane power, we already looked at that. We can kind of make a guesstimation and see for see if Star Force wise, my initial guess is like that's a little bit on the lower end, but we'll see. So
for Star Force?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, because she recently replaced some of my stuff too from Maple Onyx, which I couldn't get very high anyway. So I need to do those.
No, the Star Force, according to my grid, is about, it says like at level 220, like at least around 200. So you're like around there. That's fine. And the thing that you also have to think about is when you switch out your cape, that's actually going down to 0 again. So Star Force kind of accounts for that as well. You'll lose 7 stars on the cape, but you'll gain a lot of damage. And typically people don't have hearts. However, I don't include those because they're kind of rare and, you know, not very accessible.
Yeah.
And typically people rely more on event rings, right? Which don't get Star Force, so...
yeah, I've got like 3 of them, I think.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the new event ring, if you want to mess around with that one.
Oh, I hadn't looked into that yet.
It's very strong. It's pretty good. It could replace the ventral ring, for example, and then move your ventral ring up to be like a maybe like a mobbing ring, right? Maybe some meso obtain, maybe some drop rate.
Yeah, yeah.
That'll be something that we look into. But you've saved up your honor experience. That's good. Yeah, everything else seems fine. Okay. Specific gear itself. Might be something to look at once you start min-maxing your stuff. For the secondary, is the Princess No your best in slot?
Yep. Yep. Haven't tried. I did the pre-quest, but I haven't tried her yet.
I heard that she's kind of broken now too, that people tend to DC, so...
Oh, no.
So that's not a great time. I hope that gets fixed sometime soon. Because that's like, what, 8 weapon magic and like 14... Oh, 15, 15, 10. Okay. Oh wait, most people get 9. You get 10 attack. Damn. And 1 more stat for some reason. Okay. These numbers are so arbitrary.
Yeah, that's this game, basically.
Most of it is 14, 14, 9, pretty much across the board. And then Blaster's like, no.
That's so weird.
15, 15, 10. Okay. Somebody's hard. And then the Jet one is 15, 15, 5. It's like, okay.
Oh, poor Jet.
It's like somebody made everything.
Slot, though?
Sorry?
Oh, wait. Oh, never mind. No, that's good. Wait, 5.
Yeah.
Oh, 5 instead of 9.
Yeah, for some reason. Not sure. It's like somebody did all the groundwork and then someone else came in and is like, this looks too clean. We need to like make it a little bit more special so that it stands out or something. Yeah.
Yep, it wouldn't be Maple Story if it wasn't the case.
Because the main thing is eventually you want to get good potential. You know, you want to keep your secondaries super, super long, so you tend to go very hard on them, and because of the lines of potential, yada, 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 it's a high priority. If you're going up to like tiering up to a certain rarity to up to legendary is already pretty expensive. Since the current one you have is quote-unquote only unique, and you might switch, you know, later on in the game to a new secondary anyway, it might be a good idea to try to work on that. But yeah, if the boss DCs you now, that kind of throws a wrench into your plans and makes it very unlikely that you can get that secondary before coming Saturday. It's a pretty min-maxy thing anyway, though, so it's definitely not the end of the world if you know, upgrade your current one and try to go for decent lines on that. Because the total potential you'll be missing out on is probably like 5 attack and 7 all stat, 7 attack strength and 5 attack. That's less than 1 star on an item, right? So it's not like you're like hardcore missing out. It's just something. Usually, like when you get to the point where you're like close to killing CRA and everything, and typically your secondary is at least epic, but probably unique depending on how you do it. And then since you're moving into Princess No later eventually, never really go for legendary and hard min-max your current secondary, but like save all that money and direct it straight into the Princess No, because that also allows you to reroll, like freely reroll your secondary without losing a bunch of current damage. Where if you're sticking to, you know, if you go for legendary on this, you have to end with a good roll, otherwise you're going to miss out on a lot of damage and might not be able to CRA anymore after that. So
that's true. Okay, I guess I can give it a shot and see if I DC.
Yeah, you could always try, of course, and if you crash, then you just commit to this one. It's not the end of the world. Or you could probably buy another one of these, right?
These are the Onyx Maple ones.
Oh, this is the Onyx one. Oh yeah, true.
Yeah.
The regular one is what, like 773 or something like that? Probably a little bit lower.
I haven't checked.
Yeah, I don't know. Like min-maxing on like the base stats on a secondary is not the It's not the most important thing. And you know, since you have that amount of money, it's probably still going to be a priority to just tier it up and then just mass red cube roll to at least 2 useful lines to get like the same or better. Get at least like an upgrade of 3% attack, but hopefully 10% damage, 3% attack, something like that. Upgrade. But the distribution of the lines in general between your WSE is fine. The one line of IED on the emblem with at least line of attack, boss and attack on the secondary, and then whatever this guy has. Of course, the potential when you think about it of the weapon is really bad compared to what it could be. Of course, the base attack and everything and the Star Force makes it really good for now. The one thing to keep in mind is that you are getting 20% crit rate from it. So if you ever do switch out on that, so that's why I was kind of thinking like, are there any event buffs active to get you to that crit rate? Because that will mean that you, although by that point you'll have extra slots in your matrix, so you'll be able to switch into decent sharp eyes very easily, and that'll give you 10% back. And then the other 10% will probably come from your hyperstats by that point.
Okay. I also have Phantom Link, which I'm currently not using because I'm like really close. But if I get rid of one of these things, I can use that too.
Yeah, Phantom Link is typically so for some classes, Phantom Link just stays a must. But for most classes, it's like a temporary crutch to get to 100%. But eventually, you want to try to get out of that. Some classes can do that by rearranging their Legion. Like I said, hyperstats, decent sharp eyes, that stuff. And some other classes have to get a line of critical rate in their IED to be able to, in their ability, to be able to do that. But it seems for you, you're in that second situation where you don't need the inner ability line to be able to do that. So that should mean that you can roll out of it. Yeah, you should be able to roll out of it pretty easily. Decent sharp eyes, maybe some more crit in your Legion, in your hyperstats, maybe level up the characters that give you crit rate in your Legion a little bit more, and then all of that combined should be enough to hit that 20. But again, that's when you switch over from this one into an actual Absolab, full Absolab item, which will probably only be once you have all the other pieces of Absolab already lined up, right? Because this helps you with the set bonus, so getting the weapon itself is also not really a priority, although you would get the attack percentage and everything from the potential. But if you get the other pieces, that also gives you the set bonus on them and high tier item that has flame advantage and that kind of stuff. And then once you have all those other pieces, then you can switch into the weapon, and then hopefully by that time you have a bunch of Vellum pieces. You can wait for an event, you can star fodder some Fafnir Knuckles, and then just transfer hammer it over once you can buy the weapon, that kind of deal. And then it kind of falls into place. Yeah.
And I'll have probably more Legion by then too, because it'll be so far away that I would have probably trained some of those characters by then.
Yeah.
So yeah, that sounds pretty good, that timeline.
Yeah, a little bit of Legion here and there, and then whenever there's some kind of event that makes it more beneficial to train on low level characters, that'll also fast track that. But yeah, we never know exactly what's going to come in terms of that, of course. But yeah, so the gains that you can make, basically, the 9% damage and a 35% boss together is just a little bit better than one line of 40% boss. And then that basically means that the potential now on your weapon is basically like one good line and nothing. So once you're able to recube that and actually get lines of attack, which will be 13 and 10 respectively, like that will be a huge increase then. And of course also then you can go a little bit harder on the flame, which now you don't really want to do because it's still a temporary item and it's a decent enough flame. But then you can go a little bit harder, a little bit higher on the tiers and stuff like that. Maybe also some boss and some damage in the flame, and then a different soul, and then all of those things added up will be a nice buff.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
So for now, for Saturday, I'll definitely look at the secondary, but we'll look at other stuff. Basically, you'll just try for like the higher tier equivalents of the same lines you already have, basically.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, that's good to know. Yeah.
And then all the other equips, I'm seeing most things are epic, some are unique, which makes perfect sense, of course. If you somehow can get the cape before Saturday, or like on Saturday, I guess, because it has a pretty good drop rate. If you can kill before then. Although for most people, HMAG is like one size bigger than ZVAL, but they're kind of on the same path. It truly depends on which class you play. For some classes, HMAG is easier than CVAL. But for most, it's the other way around. Yeah, it'll depend on the control and depend on what is available in your kit, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll keep trying it until then. Let's see.
Yeah, so ring-wise, you are using that ring for that 9-set bonus, which is very useful, of course. Yeah, so one thing I said that we can consider is that you move the... once you get the ring from this event... I don't know if you're participating fully in this event. Are you planning on going for the upgraded ring?
Yeah, I'll try. I'll try for that.
If you do get that, then you could switch out the Vengeful Reboot ring for it. And then... in general, I think... Because you're relying... Because you do have 2 lines of strength on most of these rings. Well, let me look through all the equips first and see. What is it? So what I like to do in general, when I want to push and feel more value for my training, is I like to push. So I want to make sure my WSE is set, and then I want to push my accessories so that I can. Typically, my accessories will be kind of in the same position as yours. Like typically be epic, maybe unique, with like 1 good line of strength or maybe 2. And then typically what I want to do with an event like these is push them to legendary so that I can get either a line of drop or mezzo plus a line of stat so that I kind of stay at the same point stat wise, or maybe go up a little bit on some, go down a little bit on some others, but it'll roughly stay the same amount of percentage strength that comes from all of my accessories combined. But what it'll add is a bunch of utility in the drop rate and the mezzo lines. And so what I'll end up with is not getting weaker, but whenever I kill monsters, I'll get more nodes, more money, all of that stuff. And I think that'll also help with the drive of like, instead of training for an hour and seeing like that you made 150 mil, instead of that making like 350 will feel a lot better. Because, yeah, I think that's a good motivating factor.
Yeah, that motivates me for sure. Okay. Would that be, do you think, like one of the higher priorities then?
Yeah, after the secondary,
or
I think that's
highest?
Yeah, that's probably the next step. Yeah, but the question is how high do you want to go, and which ones do you want to train? Which ones do you want to level up? Because have you cleared? You don't have Golex coins, right? You said that you don't have any coins for backups.
I don't have Golex coins.
No, okay.
I haven't cleared hard Golex yet.
Okay. What you could do, but it's kind of a meme, but what you could do is kill normal Golex every day and see if you get any solid rings, because those can be useful, and if you're pretty strong, then it should be pretty fast to kill normal.
Oh yeah, normal is fine. Weirdly, I was doing it every day until I started trying hard Golex, which I've been failing every day so far. But yeah, I haven't managed to get a ring, but I could keep trying until I get one.
It's a pretty low drop rate.
That's like the other thing. Yeah.
It's a pretty low drop rate, but you don't have access to too many rings at this stage of the game. So if you get cracked or solid rings, then that could be a nice extra little addition.
Okay.
Yeah, you just need something to latch that legendary potential with the drop or the mezzo obtain on to, and then once you have that, yeah, then you'll start just seeing way more returns. Combine that with the inner ability. Maybe, you know, with some Legion coupons, because those will also start being more and more worth it if you compile everything together. And maybe then a wealth acquisition potion becomes worth it, and then a totem becomes worth it, right? Kind of like luring you into the trap of playing a lot, but that's kind of like when everything comes together and that value starts to really shine of throwing all these things together. And then, of course, the disconnects and losing all your buffs, but that's a whole... Well, it's not another story. It's the same story, of course. It's all part of Maple Story, but that will happen as well.
But
yeah.
That's good to know about the solid Golex ring, and that hard Golex may not be like super worth it right now in terms of the reward. So then I can keep doing normal Golex and try to just get the ring.
Yeah, if you make some significant upgrades, or you feel like your character is just getting a lot stronger, you can try Hardlux again and see if that's just faster. But the thing is that Hardlux can't drop rings anymore. He can, so the lower difficulty drops rings, and do they drop everything? I think the lower difficulties, like easy and normal, drop everything, and then the higher ones drop only the earrings and the belts.
Oh, I see. I've gotten everything besides the ring so far, so I think that makes sense.
Mm. Yeah, but yeah, drop rate is pretty low. But you know, if you don't have any access to rings, otherwise, or you'd have to do like if you want to get spare rings, you'd have to do Phantom Forest and like get those boxes, and then hope that you get rings from those boxes, kind of roulette thing.
Oh, I haven't looked into that at all. Is that like a thing worth doing?
If you really need rings to get like the rates on, so what I think you so there's like two options. What you could do is well, what I would do is get the rings to legendary in general, and then get one line of meso or drop, and then one line of strength together. So tiering up with black cubes and then re-rolling with reds once you're at legendary. If you get any kind of double line, of course, that takes priority over the line of strength. If you end up with like 2.5 or 3 lines of strength, then you keep that. But if any of those things happen, then you're gonna need like backups to fill up the slots, and that's when having some extra rings at your disposal can be useful.
I see.
And there's just pretty limited resources of rings. There's like a ring in New Leaf City, I think, from a quest line that you can do.
Oh yeah, the treasure.
Yeah.
John.
Yeah, John's treasure
Yeah.
band, whatever, something like that. Yeah, I think that's like level 120 or something. So that could also be as a backup. You could get them preemptively, and then if in case you don't need them, it's whatever. But if you're like cubing, and then let's say you're cubing your vengeful reboot ring because you're trying to get a line of meso, and then you end up getting 30% strength on that, and it's well fuck, now you now you want to get another one, right? You do the cubes
Right.
do so. If there's no DMT, we don't know 100% for sure yet, but I don't think there's going to be any DMT. Should have been announced already. The cubes do last for a whole month, so you do have time to also get other items, right? So it's not like you have to all get them in the day, or that you have to do all the cubing even on that day. You can do it whatever
That's a
you want
good
later.
point. Yeah, I kept thinking I do. Yeah, that's true. I can get the items like within this month.
Yeah, you have a bit more breathing room. The important thing is to just get your cubes, and then if everyone's cubing and there's like huge delays and everything, there's no reason. Usually the problem with the lagging and people's cubes not functioning and all of that is because there's DMT and then everyone's cubing at exactly the same time. That's when.
Yeah, I was there. Oh, that was bad.
Yeah, it's never been that bad that you have to like cube and then CC and then just wait for the CC and then the cube would go through.
So that was like me and Seth's first one. Was it always that bad or like was it always like you had to CC before? Too?
No, it's never like that. It would just be it would just be that it would happen a bit more often that if you were cubing that the UI would just disappear, or that it would take a little bit longer for the cube to get taken out of your inventory, and if you click next before the cube got taken out of your inventory, then the game would basically be trying to do the same cube again, which it wouldn't allow, and then the UI would close. So sometimes you just have to make sure that you didn't cube like instantly like you would anytime, that you have to leave like a little bit of space, or that you open up your inventory so that you could see that the counter for your cube went down and then click. That was the only thing usually during a DMT. The way that the last ones were absolutely double molding time. Dude, it was so bad. Yeah. And then the compensation was another one that was just as bad. And then the double compensation was, what was it, 2 unique potential scrolls, which is, for non-reboot probably pretty good, but well, they didn't have problems, but for reboot,
oh yeah, that's true.
That's
they
pretty
did
much
have problems.
Yeah, some people in chat were like, "Oh, I'm having no issues." They're like, "Okay, we don't care about EU reboot. Okay, like, go away." They've got like 6 people cubing at the same time. Of course, it's not gonna break. But I'm just kidding. EU reboot. I love you guys. Okay. Yeah, and I know a lot of people after that were very disillusioned with the whole event and actually quit for a bit, or for a while. I know that happened as well. It was a very bad thing to have happen, and that's kind of the price of success there, that there's so many people playing that they can't handle it because of the infrastructure that's not built to handle it. But back to your stuff. Yeah, so there's definitely good value in tiering up and getting Meso drop in your accessories. So ideally aim for 5 lines of meso, and then however many drop you can get on top of that. So there's 9 accessories that can get these lines, so that's typically 4 lines of drop at least. That gets you to the point where your drop rate for bags is at 100%. So that also means that familiars with that you have that solely have like increased drop rate for mesos or something, that those effectively don't do anything anymore. Your drop rate will take care of that. at that point.
Oh, okay.
And that, ooh, that's a nice Mechanator flame. Juicy.
Oh yeah, I kill Arcarium every day. Eventually, it was finally got one that was good.
Nice, nice. Yeah, that saves money on flames if you do long-term stuff like that. So it's nice. Down there has okay flames. Yeah, so that would be 4 rings, 2 pendants, and then Iron Face and Earring. Right now you have 11 on the string. Tattoo is B mark 75. Nice. Yeah, and then the same thing can happen with if the thing happens with the tattoo, you can so that's one thing I would definitely advise though, is to keep doing your solo your dailies and CPQ to build up some dinero bank, because you know, if the same thing that happens to the rings, you switch out the rings, but what if the same thing happens to your tattoo, right? You're trying to get your 20% meso obtain and you roll like 24% strength or something. You don't want to have to roll over that, right? So at that point you're gonna have to buy another one.
As long as I have 2 of them, I'm good, right?
Yeah, and then you can just switch whichever one fulfills which roll the best, and then just re-roll the other one.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, same with Black Beam Mark. Like, do you want to keep this for the set bonus, or if you're gonna switch out for the monocle? Typically, I would advise doing that only when you're going past 15 stars, but you are pretty close to that point. If you go,
like you wouldn't do Black Bean Mark to like 17?
You could. The other thing would be like, what if you switch out, for example, the Iphia's ring, which has not great stats, right? What if you switch that one out for example, that really strong event ring instead, so you can keep the Vengeful Reboot ring, and then you'll be at an 8 set, so that means you can freely switch one other equip without losing extra set bonus. And then switching the bean mark out for the monocle would be the next step.
Oh, okay, got it.
What you could do is
so eventually I'd want to have 2 monocles too for the same reasons, right?
Yeah, or
for cubing.
Or what you do is get the black bean mark for drop, the Iphia's ring for drop, or meso, right? Just part of your drop set, and then get the new event ring for damage and get the monocle for damage. And then you just switch those 2 out. So you will lose the 10% boss damage, but you'll gain a lot in extra stats if you go past 15 there. And then on the Black Beam Mark, what you can do, but this is like, you know, Fantasyland things, is you can go to 16 and then transfer hammer it into Papalatus Mark if you get it, and then get that one to 16 again during Fast and 15 and then transpose it. That way you don't have to risk or safeguard getting the Pat mark up to whatever, but that's like something you could do. But yes, so that's something that I tend to do, is like rely more on the set bonuses for the early gear, so that you can salvage that value that you have invested into tiering them up by them being pretty strong drop rate set instead.
Okay.
So you could go for drop on this, but then again, if you roll damage on this one, then I think that pretty much like locks in your Iphia's ring to also becoming part of your damage set, right? Because then you want to have that percentage, and you want to have the 10% boss damage access. So then you might roll the event ring. Well, then you probably still roll the event ring also for damage, and then just replace it with the Vengeful Reboot like we talked about before, and then that one becomes for drop. Yeah, no other event rings this time around, sadly. So. Well, or maybe not sadly, because it would be a lot at once. So maybe it's good that we're getting a breather from that.
And in terms of priority for rolling the accessories, like I'm guessing rings is first because there's more room to move around with them.
I would, in general, focus on the things that are already the highest tier, because they can get there the fastest. And then once you have a few locked in, because if you start, you know, tiering, like, again, if there's DMT, then you just throw like black cubes on everything and get everything to legendary, right? You have enough money for that. But if there's no DMT, then you want to focus on the thing that's already the highest tier, because what if you start with something that's epic and you get super unlucky and you throw away all your money and you don't get anything? That's going to feel horrible. So you want to kind of make sure that your mental gets saved as well in case things go bad. At least you'll get like 1 legendary and at least 1 line, so that you can have something to fall back on. Because the more lines of meso you get, the faster you're going to make all that money back, and you're going to make it back basically twice as fast, or maybe even a bit faster if you include the invulnerability. And if you include maybe training more because of it, you'll end up making your money back so much faster that then you can start dumping that into star forcing to 17, star forcing past 17, getting all your other stuff to legendary, that kind of stuff. And then the damage is really going to start coming in. Once you get like your whole CRA set, for example, from where it is now to like 17 stars, it's a gigantic difference.
Okay, cool. So my goal is like at least one drop ring out of this. That'll be my expectations.
Yeah, at least. Now, typically getting like an item to legendary and one of those useful lines typically costs you like around 1 bill, maybe a little bit more. And since they're already unique, you know, typically the getting 1 line of drop or mezzo plus a line of stat is something a little bit more min-maxy that I tend to advise a little bit later on. But since you have enough money, I would aim for that now.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So that you don't lose too much damage while you're bossing. Because like if you had 8 rings or something, then you would just aim for the other stuff, right? Because the damage on killing monsters isn't going to come from the total of like 15 or 20%. Well, maybe a little bit more. But from that stat on your rings, it's going to come from your boost nodes, your arcane power, your weapon. You know, that's where all the big damage comes from. The 30 or 40% stat on your rings shouldn't be the difference between one-shotting and two-shotting. Typically isn't.
Yeah, okay. Got it.
So possible extra ring with solid. Yeah, so once the rings are done, then the pendants can follow. And you see the pendants have 6% strength each. So ideally you get to 20% mezzo or drop with a 9% line. So then eventually you'll actually end up gaining 6% strength there. And then that will cover some of the percent strength that you might lose when you reroll the rings. Because most of those have 2 lines, so you'll lose a bit there. And that'll
I guess so you're like kind of pooling all these accessories essentially.
Yeah. You're just turning it into one amorphous blob of give me stuff. Yeah, and then part of it is the accessory set, and then the other part is like the utility when you're training and leveling, and then the other part is the total amount of all stat and percentage all stat, that kind of stuff. As far as the rest, the belt is also very nice. Star forcing the belt is never an issue because you can always transfer a hammer into a superior belt if you get it. So, and it should be probably getting some backups for if you're doing Pink Bean. I wouldn't save more than like 5 or 6 maybe, and then you don't want to have your whole inventory just endlessly full of items that you probably won't need. But just so you can make sure that you can Star Force without feeling like that you have to safeguard on an item that has such ample backups.
Okay, yeah, so 5 or 6. I just like keep around 2, but yeah, I could keep it.
Yeah, I tend to be a bit more safe. Like 4 or 5 might be good. Yeah, there aren't too many items. So for the gold clover belt, like saving a few backups. For the shoulders, I don't know if you're doing Madman Ramaru regularly.
Yeah, I'm doing him too.
If you have any of those Ramaru shoulders, like all of those are good to keep for long term. So
yeah, I think I have maybe 1.
Yeah, they're not super common, so keep all the ones that you get. All of the shoulders are, again, for Star Forcing fodder into Absolep shoulder once that comes around. Because you basically keep the shoulder all the way until Absolep shoulder, and you don't really want to invest more into it. So you want to make sure that you have the backups so that you can, once you do make that upgrade, it becomes like a huge noticeable upgrade, and you'll feel so much stronger all of a sudden. It's always good. Cape is going into Tyrant Cape, but you can, I don't know if you're doing Czak. That's probably...
Yeah, I'm doing that one too. I have a few capes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you have a few capes, then that's fine. And that's like another something, I guess, like after the Star Forcing event, depending on how much money you're left over with, it could be a good idea to save some backups, of course, so that once you, because we do have a 30% off event coming, and it'll also always be nice to be able to go to 15 stars on all of your stuff, which is relatively cheap, but by having some backups so that you don't have to safeguard, or for most items you won't have to, right? So for the Golden Clover Belt, for your CRA gear, as long as you have some backups, then you can just freely go up to 15. And you can just spam click. You don't really have to look at anything, because remember when you safeguard, well, during 30% off, it's just the base amount that gets discounted. It's not the safeguard part where it's doubled. That you don't get a discount on that. So you lose some efficiency.
Oh, I didn't realize it worked that way. That it made it so much better, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a few things I need to get to 15 here, but it's good to know. Yeah, I can just do that with the belt. That's still worth it.
Yeah, getting to 15 is more like the trivial matter that you just have to get past so that you can get to 17 eventually. Getting to 15 is not going to be a noticeable upgrade whatsoever. It's going to be like 20 stat on all of these items. It'll feel the same as getting a different flame, which is, it feels like nothing. You don't really notice that. But once you can make the jump from 15 to 17, on all of these equips, you'll get so much extra weapon attack that'll be super noticeable.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it's more like a formality.
And did you recommend that for the stuff that I'm not wearing right now, like the Cizak cape, that I also use the event to get that to 15, or don't bother?
Yeah, if you have enough money, though, the main reason to get those would be to make sure that you can transfer hammer into Abzo, and since that's still pretty far away, it would definitely be lower on the priority list, yeah. Because you could get unlucky and get like, stuck in an endless loop of 10 to 15 and throw like 2 bill at a cape, which is, at this point, not a good expense for you. It's better to roll better potential on a Tyrant cape instead, or make sure that if 5, 10, 15 comes out 2 weeks after that, that you have the money to get your CRA and bump that to 17, for example. That'll be way more important. Initially, I wouldn't mess with... so you can get the Golden Clover Belt to 15, but I wouldn't mess with the Ramaru Shoulder, I wouldn't mess with the Enraged Zakum Cape, and I wouldn't get the shoe and the glove yet. You know how the shoes and the gloves you can get to transfer hammer over?
Oh, which one?
So there's a shoe that you can buy in the Root Abyss shop called I think it's called the Ancient Root Shoe or something like that. Don't know.
Oh, I haven't looked into that yet, no.
Ancient Root Greaves or something. It's just in the general shop. It costs those green or blue coins that you get from Root Abyss that you don't really use for anything else. So, Antique Root Boots, yeah. These are level 150, but you can just, because they're in a shop, you can just freely buy them whenever, so there's no pressure of having to keep them in your inventory and clogging it up, because, you know, the hoarder that I am, you probably see my inventory sometimes, it can get quite messy. And the gloves you can get from the black market before, what's his face, Magnus, under the special tab, the Antique Root gloves, these are level 150, so you can buy those whenever you're ready, whenever you have the money saved up. There's a 30% off, and the next step is, you know, funding yourself towards getting the Abzo stuff. Then you can start getting these, and yeah. So I wouldn't use those just yet. And then the last item would be the Fafnir weapon, right? But you don't even have the pieces for that one yet, so that one is not an issue yet. But yeah, in general, I advise these because in case you blow an item up, you get a trace, and you want to have the same item as a backup so that you can immediately throw the trace in. Not so much for the value that you save, because it's not that much, but for the time you save. And all the Remaru items all are level 150 as well, but he drops for all 5 of the different classes. So the chance that you have a bunch for the same one, and you'll be stuck with a bunch of traces, and you'll still have to redo. So it's better to rely on these. That's why I prefer the Enraged Zakum Cape, prefer the belt, and prefer those shoes and gloves.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
I'm wondering if you would go for 17 on the shoes and the gloves that you currently have.
Yeah, because the next upgrade is so far away.
Like, the meme would be to at least get them to 16 if there's a 5, 10, 15, so that you could transfer hammer them into the other gloves. Like, the joke would be, what you could do is, if Abzo is near by the next time 5, 10, 15 comes, who knows, you get these to 16, transfer into those items that I just mentioned, get those to 16, then transfer into Abzo, get those to 16, and then safeguard them to 17, like all in one event, basically.
That would be beautiful.
Yeah, then the only thing you would have to do is make sure that you reflame the end result, because the flames won't carry over. But they will stay epic, they will retain their stats. I mean, they'll even go up to 7%, right? Because they go up to level 160 tier.
Right.
Yeah, that would be retaining a lot of the value that you've already invested. But if you do, if you do it too quickly though, if you switch the well, you only lose the 300 defense set bonus, so that's not the end of the world. But if you do it too quickly and switch these into the 150 first without also switching them into the Abzo, then you will lose your flames initially, which is, these are two really good flames, so you would lose quite a bit there. And those both don't have flame advantage, those items that you would transfer into, so it's not like you can easily get anything comparable. So you really only use them as like an intermediary to jump up to Abzo. Yeah, so maybe just having one of each.
You don't think it's worth getting these to 17 for using them as is?
Yeah, that's what I'm considering. It might be.
I don't know. I'm just thinking because it sounds so far away to me.
Yeah, at the rate that you progress, and with because it might be a little bit more with the extended rates and everything. You might feel a bit more likely to do some training, but it's not like you're suddenly gonna start doing 4 hours a day or anything, right? So these are still gonna stay with you for a long time. It'll still depend on a 5, 10, 15. Like you wouldn't do it outside of a 5, 10, 15. So.
Right. Yeah.
With that, it's probably at least another month away, maybe even 2 or more. They do get pretty good though, because they are 140 and they have good flames and everything. Yeah, possibly. At least, like I said, at least to 16, but possibly to 17. But I would make like a priority list in general, or we can do that now, of like which items you would get to 17, and it would definitely be CRA before, right? Because you keep that longer. It'll be the accessories that are definitely going to stay with you longer, like the belt, probably even your earrings, because I mean the next step is superior earrings, which is it's quite far away. It might be your Sweetwater tattoo and your monocle, right?
Okay.
And if you add all of these up, maybe even safeguarding your Mechanator up to 17, right? Or, well, with the Mechanator, I'd probably keep it at 16 because of the transposing thing.
You mean Dominator? Or?
Yeah, Dominator, yeah. I'd probably keep that one at 16 and never get it to 17, because if you get, if you reflame and you want to transpose it into the Sweetwater pendant, right, for the sets, once you start moving from the accessory set into the Golok set, then you want to transpose it at 16. That's like the ideal number. So you don't want to unless you get a second Dominator, of course, and then you keep using these. Let's say this one is unique and is your drop rate ring, drop rate pendant. Let's say it gets like a line of mezzo and a line of drop or something. Well, then you want to work on another one for transposing. Obviously, you don't want to. You don't want to give this away.
Yeah. I already blew one up on my Thunderbreaker.
Ooh,
I did have a backup, but still.
Yeah,
bad.
It never feels good. The backup is like a weapon you never want to have to use. You want to wave it around so that people know, but you don't want to be forced to stoop to it.
Okay, I'm going to write down the priority so I don't forget.
Yep.
So CRA first.
Yeah, it's like the stuff that stays with you the longest, that gives you the longest time to get the value back. Then probably your belt, earring. Dominator to 16, and then definitely the shoe and the glove also to 16, and then probably Sweetwater tattoo, and if you have a monocle by that time, to 17. And then if there's money after that, well, you have the kind of treasure as well, right? That one's probably also looking at 17. Yeah, that was one extra ring in the equation that I completely forgot. But still, it only puts you at 5 now, 6 with the event ring, 7 with that special one in NLC. Then you'll still need at least one cracked or solid to get at least 8. That's all pretty good. Yeah, and at that point, you're looking at so much money that all of these upgrades combined, that it wouldn't really make sense that you just have, billions to like toss around and you can just make it rain. That's it's probably going to be a little bit more frugal with where you put your money.
Yeah, I don't like spending money in the game. I feel bad, but gotta spend money to make money, I guess.
Yeah, that is definitely true, yeah. Yes, so what does that mean for dailies and everything? So I would advise, if doing the solo voyages is too much time, at least doing CPQ. as long as you don't get too many gold ways, if you compare like how long that takes compared to how many denarii you get for that, that's pretty good value. And if you have spare time and maybe in the weekend, then make sure you get your voyages in. Yeah, so you can afford those pieces. But we talked about which bosses. Flames all look really good, so that's definitely on point. For Saturday wise, you could definitely get your CRA up to unique, and then I would roll within unique with Master Craftsman and try to roll for 1 or 2 lines of strength on there. Typically CRA you don't want to get to legendary too quickly because that adds a lot of junk lines, and it actually becomes very expensive to get good lines. Specifically for the helmet.
And is that and in order of priority, the CRA to unique, is that after the rings or
yeah, like after the whole accessory set, basically. Yeah.
Oh, okay, got it.
So it is potentially you get to the point where you're like, okay, I spent so much money, I want to keep a buffer for 30% off, and maybe if 5, 10, 15 comes pretty early in the next set, I want to keep a buffer there. There's no shame in like keeping your CRA where it is now. Like CRA is going to stick around for a long time, so it'll get its time to shine and get its time to be upgraded. There's no rush. Yeah. Yeah, the other thing with dailies and everything that I would say is that I would try to implore for your arcane symbol dailies to do those as much as possible, because there's so much stat to be gained there and so much damage. And even if you don't really upgrade your gear, if you keep doing your dailies, the bosses will just get easier and easier noticeably. Every level is 100 stat. It's a final stat, like a final buff of 100, but it's a lot. And unlocking 1 new area is another 300. Like, it is big.
Yeah, I know. I'm embarrassingly bad about my Arcane River dailies. Gotta do those. I'll do them right now because of the coin capping, but...
Yeah. Or like together with Seth or something, maybe he has a character that needs to do them. I found that helped. When I had a bunch of characters that didn't want to do them, it was like, I would just ask the chat, and if there was someone, I was like, okay, let's go do them together, because by myself, I wouldn't get the motivation.
Oh, that's so true. Yeah, like the only reason I even started doing them a while ago again was because my sister would sometimes want to do it. It's like having a gym buddy, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. Like with sports, doing them by myself is also like, or you do them for a while, and then you lose the motivation after a while. But if if you have someone else to do it together, then you can keep each other motivated. Yeah, the souls is, I mean, that's something that just builds up slowly over time. I wouldn't use anything until you get your actual Absolab weapon, so just save up until then.
Let's just hoard those.
Yeah, just hoard. Backups we talked about, right? If you need them for 30%, if you're 30% off to 15, typically you don't need any, but you know, it can happen. So just try to keep doing the C-Ray bosses every week, so you can just keep building up that backup. And the Narrows and Golics we talked about. Does that all make sense so far? Is that all clear?
Yeah, so far so good. Thanks for building up kind of a priority list for the cubing too. I wasn't sure about that.
Yeah, no problem. For familiars, I don't know what your income of familiars is. Is this just because it seems like you just got some here and there and you just took whatever was the best at that point?
Yeah, basically that's what this is from. I think I'm using these right now because of the drop rate stuff, but more recently because of like training characters for Link and Legion and stuff, I do have a bunch of cards that I need to just open. So I'll be getting some more. Haven't looked into them, so. What should I be aiming for those? I'm not too sure.
So typically everything in rare and common is just kind of bleh. So the only thing that's kind of good there is 15% IED lines. And if you can get
is that from common or rare? Or?
It's actually more common in common than in rare, because rare has more options but only has the one chance of giving you 15% IED. So I think for common it's about a 1% chance. And then for rare, it's like 0.7% chance or 0.6 or something. So it's actually more common among common, and they're equally good. So just if you have a bunch of common, and you get 15% IED, those would be really good. 2 of those, will be two separate lines of 15% IED, but those will definitely help you get some extra IED that you needed that we talked about before, right? When I said there was another source of IED, this is what I was talking about. Those will help you get to the point where you get more penetration for the CRA bosses, and specifically also for Vellum, and if you're going to start doing Lotus and Damien after that, because those have... Vellum has 200% PDR, and then Lotus and Damien have 300%. So then you want to make sure that you keep elevating your IED to keep that extra damage that you're making, that you're actually, that it's reaching the boss, and that his defense doesn't just cancel a bunch of it out. One thing you can do if you're not getting the IED familiars, but you are still struggling with the IED, is that you farm for a bit, maybe on some characters, or train some characters specifically in areas where a bunch of familiars drop. It's typically just areas where you can kill a lot of monsters. If you trained characters recently in like the Drakes map, for example, Drakes just drop a bunch of them.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can just kill a lot of Drakes. And so you could just reveal all of those. Those have the exact same chance of giving it than common drops from familiars at level 250 plus. It's all just about the rarity of the familiar now. Another area is Forsaken Excavation Site 2, for example. If you're training around level 190 or 205 or around that level, then at least until you get those two familiars, right? Like going a little bit in that direction will definitely help you get more cards to reveal.
Okay, cool. So the goal there is two cards for 15% IED.
Yep. For me, it was typically, I think, around 150 cards roughly per character I had to reveal to get two of them. If you get unlucky, it could be as many as like 400, and sometimes you get it in 5. So it's a little bit all over the place. But generally, it's like 150, 160 around there.
That would make sense. Yeah, if it's like 1% or 0.7 for rare, then that I guess it'll average.
Yeah, I also opened up my rares.
I have enough. I probably will get one. Yeah.
Yeah, if you pile everything together, you might be surprised how many you already have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, ID. Yeah. I mean, you could technically get ID from one of those souls, for example, if you put it on your weapon, but you'd never want to rely on that. The other ID will come from either your hyperstat, but you already have that, or from the Legion and the Link skills, which we're probably getting into now because your matrix is pretty much set. So you switch this one out for the bind when it's necessary, and then if you level, probably looking into. Well, yeah, Sharp Eyes would be something once you switch the weapon, which you're not going to be doing anytime soon. Impenetrable Skin could be very useful against magnets, right? Knockdown resistance for a while, so you can not get smacked around by the blue one. Could be something to play around with as well. Maybe if one of your other skills isn't very useful. I'm thinking...
Like if I were to switch out 2 of these. Yeah, I have sometimes switched out Bullet Blast.
That last the fourth job extra one, does that give a lot of extra damage on bosses? Isn't that mainly for mobbing?
Which one? Sorry, which fourth job one?
The one that has like a black shadowy dude. That has like shadow partners.
The 4th V.
Yeah.
That's like the last one that's there. Yeah, it's good for both. It has like the active and passive mode.
Oh, true. Yeah.
So when it's active, it'll do more hits on the same target. And it'll do kind of the opposite when it's in the cooldown mode, where it hits stuff that you haven't hit yet. So that's really good for mobbing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an awesome skill. It actually added, it like increased my, my regular attacking damage by like 50%. So I was like 1.5x what I was doing before with my regular like Magnum Punch Double Blast combo.
Oh wow. Okay, that's pretty huge.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you switch into the because that first one is like really big burst skill, gives you that 100% IED. That second one is like you need the bind for that second one to really work though, right?
Yep.
And it doesn't give you, does it give you knockback resistance? Knockdown resistance?
Oh, actually I haven't, I
think it does, right?
It would. Because I've never been pushed back while using it. Only like gets interrupted if I get stunned or something.
Yeah, I think it creates like that. What is it? Like an octagonal shield, like around you.
Oh yeah, that
when you get
happens
hit.
whenever I do the guarding skills, and this one also guards, just like if
Yeah.
you're doing like
Yeah. So I think that one gives you knock
Yeah.
down as well. Could be something to look at if you want to like burst at the end, but that skill's down. Maybe once you have an extra slot, once you have 215, you can play around with that, so you have 2 skills that can do that. And then between that and your iframes, you can make sure that if you get webbed, that you don't get absolutely like smacked across the map. Could be something.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's true. Oh man, there's so many things that can kill you besides that too, though.
Oh yeah, and it only gets worse as the boss fight
So frustrating.
continues. Yeah. Yeah, the frustration though, I feel makes the payoff afterwards once you do get through it so much sweeter, so much better. Let's see, link skills.
Oh yeah, I don't have too many available links, so this is just basically what I had.
Basically what you have. Okay. Yeah, it's good to know. So there's 2 things you can do, right? You can min-max and apply new ones that you don't have yet, and you can level up the ones that you already have that are useful. In general, I would advise to just slowly, because I'll look at your characters in your Legion. That build looks nice. I would just slowly advise to work everything up to being at least level 120 and then at least to 140, right? Because of the level 2 links first, and then because of the rank S in the grid afterwards. I would always be doing 1 or 2 characters a day, like on the side, just doing at least something on them to just like get that slow, gradual progression towards the end. Like if a character is not level 140 yet, then I will do Zakum on it every day, basically, as I slowly build up characters. Now, you don't want to start doing that on 25 characters a day, of course, if you have so many.
No,
but
I
just
think
pick
Seth was trying to do that. I think he's like burnt out on that now.
Yeah, like, because that can happen as well. Because you're like, oh, it's just 2 minutes per character. Okay, but now you're doing 25 characters, you're switching, you're crashing a few times. Now you're doing 2 hours of Zakum a day. Like, that's not fun.
That's too real, yeah.
Yeah, so pick like 2 or 3 and like do that. And then when 1 is done, you pick up the next character. So it's like a small part of your day, so you know that you're gradually, moving upward. You'll get a few cubes here, a few flames there. You can cycle those back to another character or to your main to help upgrade, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's how I prefer to play, actually. I like slowly progressing on like a couple other side characters for Link and Legion while like playing I totally agree with that, yeah. And
then what you'll start seeing is that the Link skills will start leveling first. So your Light Watch is not going to go to level 3, but your Bravado will very easily get to level 2. That'll give you a little bit more IED, and since it's IED that's already increasing a current stack, that'll actually make it more, like if you have 2 separate sources of 5% IED, that's worse than having 1 source of 10%, right?
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, so
the big block is better.
Exactly. The bigger the blocks, the better. So leveling up your the Hoyoung, right, to get more IED there will be more beneficial than adding like let's say that familiars could add 5% or something. That would be better than adding a familiar like that. But now the combination of the two, like if you can get the familiars, you can get a little bit of here. Once you level up your boost nodes and get to 40 and get 20 there, you're effective. Because now you're probably pretty close, that your functional IED is probably pretty close to what you see visually. It's probably pretty close to 89, 90. But if you add all of those things, you'll probably get up to like 95 or something functional. And that'll, or like 90, probably like 95. And that'll make it way easier to make that jump towards Lotus and Damien, and also will significantly improve your damage on Vellum. Like I could do the number example, but let's say that you have 90% block, right, and he has 200% PDR. That means that he takes, you ignore 180% of that 200% damage, right, 90%. So he still has 20% damage reduction on you, so you deal 80% of your final damage. Is how that works. But if you go up from 90 to 95, that means that you now block 190% of his defense. So he only has 10% damage reduction left. So now you deal 90% of your damage. So you go from 80 to 90, which is 10% on 80%. So that's like 12.5% damage increase, final damage increase, from just getting that little 5% extra visual functional IED.
Yeah.
And well,
okay, this is
and you know how good final damage is, so that's like the damage you've already worked for. Like you already upgraded to that point, but you're just not able to put it out because another stat is like blocking you. So that's why it's important to work a little bit on everything rather than going super hard on, you know, you can get an 8k Legion, but then if nothing else is like set in stone, then it's going to be tricky. Well, 8k Legion is a bad example because you can put the stats that you want in your Legion. But sometimes what you'll see is people, they just farm like 100 bill and then they upgrade all of their equips and everything has 30% stat, but then they can't kill the bosses, right? Because they're maybe they don't have the Legion, maybe their hyper stats are out of whack, maybe their ID isn't in order, maybe their Link's Legion, whatever. All of that combined, that makes it so that maybe only 10 or 15% of everything they work for is actually being applied. So yeah, getting everything gradually up, slowly over time, and, you know, dividing your attention among all of the relevant sources will end up with a much greater result.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good thing for me too. I like just fucking off and doing some other thing here and there. Oh yeah.
I think.
Okay, so the familiars and Ho Young, that's like, those are pretty low hanging fruit, so that's good.
Yeah, that's easy IED. That'll help you. In general, do we need to make a little bit of a priority list for which characters for Legion and Links to work on? 2, 4,
yeah, that would be
6,
good. Like
18,
I've looked at your sheet for that,
yeah,
but I haven't like tried to apply it to mine and see what I should do yet.
Marksman. Also, one of the first things I look for is critical rate, right? Do you have the Night Lord? Oh, here, 116. Yeah, so if that one gets to 140, that'll be an extra % of. I
was actually thinking about terror burning that for my second one. I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, you could do that. Then it'll be. Because now it gives what, 2%, so that'll go to 4%. So that would also be that 2%, right? That we were talking about. So that means that you don't have to put any hyperstats in critical rate, which means that you could go to. I think that would allow you to go to 9. No, 8, 5, 4. I think that'll allow you to go to 8 critical damage, 10 ignore defense, and then 8 damage and 9 boss damage. And then I think you can go to like level 4 attack. 1, 2, 4, 8, if my maths are right.
Oh, I can't math right now. I'll just trust you on that.
Yeah. And if you get that extra 2%, of course, until you get that 2%, it'll be better to just put the 2 points in and then redo it later. Or you could just put the 2 points in now. It's not like a huge difference, right? But you can put the 2 points in now, and then if you level and you have a decent amount of points, then typically like this, if you have like around 30, 35 points left over, then it's typically like a good time to just reset and just reapply them.
Okay.
If you have like some divided points, right? Unless you have, yeah, that's usually a good time because, you know, like 8 to 9 is 30 points, and 9 to 10 is 35 points. So that's when you know you can actually make like one of those big levels happen, and you're not going to be.
I see, yeah, just getting back a few points so you can just have one extra level and.
Yeah, exactly. Because like one level in boss damage is 4%, for example, so that's pretty significant. And you typically don't want to go past 10 because that's just super expensive right now. That's like something you start doing once you're in like level 240s or something. If you're trying to min-max your training, you reset them, put them all into EXP, and then, you know, something like that. You just divide them between critical rate as much as you need, and then critical damage, regular damage, and EXP, and then just train like that. And then whenever you're bossing, remember to change them back, otherwise you're going to do no damage because your IED and your boss damage will be gone.
Oh, so people actually just like will reset their hyperstats just for that?
Yeah, it's only 10 mil per switch, which in the grand scheme of things, if you're like training and making a few 100 mil an hour, that's definitely worth to do. And if you're aiming for 275, you need like all of the little bits. Like you'll do that, you'll get all of the experience coupons that you can get, stack everything together, experience accumulation potions, move your Legion into bonus experience. All of those sources individually don't really make a difference, but if you add everything up together, maybe even get like a, what is it, like a spirit pendant from the dojo, stuff like that. If you add all of those together, it does end up being quite a bit. And then once you get used to that, you can never go back because, you know, you'll be used to how quickly you level then, and then you won't be able to level without all of that stuff and a double experience coupon and a double experience event. Otherwise, everything will just feel slow, you know.
Mhm. I already feel that even just like leveling off event or off totem.
Oh yeah, off totem
Yeah.
definitely. You have to go to like very big maps, which for Blaster probably isn't always the best.
I don't. It's pretty good for getting around, but I'm not the most efficient.
You want to have like blocky maps, right? So that your Buster can basically full map whenever that's up.
Oh yeah, that would be ideal. And then also, it's nice if Shotgun Punch can reach 2 platforms too. So the ones with the like shorter platforms are good.
I see. Yeah.
I gotta learn how to skate on the Blaster.
Skate? Oh yeah, is that a thing?
Have you seen those?
Well, I saw some people just zooming by like crazy recently. There's a guy called Doomfist or something. He was skating by. He said it was so much more fun.
Oh, I've seen her on the I think it's her. I've seen her on the Discord, I think, and also.
Oh.
Yeah, they had a skating video.
Oh. Ice skating contests. You could do like short track competition between blasters, just sliding across the map.
Yeah.
We gotta lose to the new mechanic. You just hold down their boost and you just slide across. Actually, you still lose to Jet, who will just punch through, I think.
Oh, do they have? I know their jump goes far, but I haven't played too much around with that.
They have like a regular dashing skill that pretty much like dashes twice in a row very quickly and has almost no cooldown. So you just like propel yourself through the map.
Oh, in terms of just moving around in a map, like not killing stuff, Blaster can detonate a bunch of times across the map, so that's like super fast.
Yeah, especially if you give yourself a double back blast, right?
Yeah, you can do it like up and over, and then that will give you some more, like you'll get higher from doing that.
Yeah.
That's super
if
fast.
you do up, if you do like up sideways, up again, then sideways again, and then spam up, you go super fucking fast.
Yep, exactly.
I did on Vanishing Journey, you just like smack it to the wall at like breakneck speed on the other side. Yeah.
You know, that's one good thing about doing Magnus on the Blaster. You just blast back to where he is after you just died and came back.
Oh, that's true. And also in an arc, you can always make your way into the corner.
I haven't managed to do that fast enough. I just iframe it.
Yeah, exactly. You have iframes. You don't have to worry about that too much. Yeah. Yeah. So if you're gonna be terror burning the Night Lord, then critical rate is pretty much set, right? Because you have the marksman. At that point, critical damage becomes pretty useful. I see that the. So what is that?
I was curious if it makes sense if that's the most, I guess, like, value thing to do is the Night Lord. I was just thinking of doing that, but I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, okay.
If there's a better one, then I'm open to that too.
Is kind of the idea also that if you continue the burn to 210, that you could also turn into a character that you could maybe do CRA with weekly?
Oh no, these are the ones I don't want to play.
Okay, they don't want to play. Okay. Night Lord starts pretty squishy, and a lot of people kind of are disappointed with the mobbing early on until you really like get funded. It's not that great. It's easy though. It's very, very easy, like turn off your brain in easy class. If what you enjoy is, I mean, I see that your top 4 characters is like Thunderbreaker, Blaster, and Mercedes. Like these are typically a little bit more key input heavy characters. Night Lord is probably among the lowest key inputs of like all the classes in the game. It's very like simple and can comparatively maybe be pretty boring.
Yeah, because I have that 1 to 116 and I so far haven't enjoyed. I don't know. I mean, everyone's got their preferences, right? So
yeah, I'm trying to kind
for
of.
me, it wasn't.
Because of the characters that you do play, and kind of trying to see what your preference would be, and it would seem like this might be boring.
Beast Tamer there, but that's actually my AFK only Beast Tamer events. Potions. Yeah, I don't train. I'm actually like just trying to see if I can get it to 210 without attacking anything.
Without playing since level 140 or something, or like 151 mega burn.
Yeah, actually, it was a mega burn character, I think, when I first made it.
So it's like AFK events and EXP pouches and
Yep, she did all my XP
level up
pouches.
potions.
I'm thinking about using all of them on her, even though I know it's not going to be very efficient, just so I can get through it.
Yeah, the lowest level one, the higher ones, they'll be very reduced efficiency, right? The potions that work up to 219 and above, that will be like highly reduced efficiency. The one up to 209 is, I mean, yeah, that'll work. The Mercedes is also kind of close. Yeah, so I guess the critical damage would be important after that. But yeah, I think Night Lord would be probably boring for you, so that you'll have my blessing to terror burn that one. So Kinesis gives critical damage in the Link, and then the next one is Shade, which is kind of close to 140. That'll give you an extra percent there. And then you have Jet and Hayato, which...
Oh, I don't have a Hayato yet, actually.
Yeah, so Hayato will, at level 140, will also give you 3% critical damage, so that's nice. And the Jet just needs some more levels. So I would just pick like 3 characters and just do Zakum on that, and then just kind of call it a day on that. What I used to do was do Zakum and a Monster Park on one character, because it's just a bunch of extra EXP for such low level characters. But I don't know if you're probably specifically doing Monster Park for your metal, right?
I've been doing Monster Park on my Mercedes. I'm trying to get my Mercedes to 210. Actually, I don't know why. Like, I think I don't understand Mercedes. I'm not loving it, so I'm just trying to get XP from her on her in other ways. So I've been doing Monster Park on her.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, there are combo videos for Mercedes just as there are for blasters and stuff. There is actually some pretty interesting stuff you can do. I haven't
looks really cool.
Yeah, for someone who can do it.
My fingers and my brain can't.
I would have to practice that too. It looks really cool when I see other people do it, but I have the same with blaster, and then I'm like, okay, let me try, and then after like 3 seconds I get so frustrated. I'm like, oh, I'll just spam shotgun.
Yeah, and I'm like, I thought I would like it, but I think the difference is with blaster, what I like about blaster is the rhythm that you have to press the buttons at, and it always syncs up with what your fingers are doing because of the canceling. Whereas with Mercedes, like, everything's kind of buffered, and then it does the full animation before the next one. So my finger's like doing something else already, and I still don't see it happening on screen, and that just kind of like, yeah, it does not compute with me.
I see. Yeah, that is a different way that the skills interact, and if you hit a little bit of a different timing with blaster, I mean, you just pop it again, but with Mercedes, you're in the air, and then you just like plop to the ground, and then you lose all of your momentum, basically.
Yeah, yep. It does look really cool, though.
Yeah, someone who can really play it well looks really great. Yeah, so with Hayato added and leveling the Jet and the Shade, like those 3 combined is already 5% critical damage, so that's already really nice. It's pretty straightforward, and it's basically like doubling up on your crit link, right? So that's pretty good. Yeah, and I would definitely level up the Hoyoung to get to the higher tier.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Any kind of link skill that you could get instead of Noble Fire, because just by itself Noble Fire is not that good. It's mainly if you're in a full party of people. Probably think about adding Demon Avenger. I don't know if you have that one yet.
Oh, okay. I haven't trained mine yet, so
that's a lot of just flat damage percentage. That's always really easy to get. I have to look very far down. Do you even have a Kana? Oh, here it is. Damn, okay.
I have a Kana. I'm so bad. My Kana's probably at like 119 or something.
Yeah. That one also gets, I think it's boss damage, right? In the Legion, and then also gives you more percentage damage in the skill, so that combined is also a pretty decent buff.
Yeah. And she's so close to 120. I should just I'm just intimidated to play her because I don't know what any of her attacks do anymore, and there's so many buttons.
Yeah, if you haven't played her in a while, you have to like reapply everything and re-level all the skills. The main thing is that like for the boss summon and for the main attack, you have to use the low level skills, and those get empowered as you go. So you have to put the lowest level skills on buttons, and you don't switch them around when you train, basically. They just get empowered by the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th job skills. And then I guess the Demon Slayer, getting that one up to 140 as well eventually.
Oh yeah.
That will be useful. If you add all of these things together, you're probably looking at like 30-35% damage already, just from these things, and like 5% critical damage from what we just mentioned. So if you slowly work on that, you'll definitely feel the difference over time.
Mhm. Yeah, that's good. That's like an enjoyable thing to work on slowly in my case, but still, yeah.
Let me look at see if I missed any glaringly obvious thing. You don't need resistance link. You already had. Oh yeah, and that last character, what was it? The Wild
the Wild Hunter.
Yeah, that'll be very useful, of course. You didn't need the Phantom. Wait, do you have Aaron and Evan actually? Yeah.
I have Aaron at 150 and Evan at 150 as well.
Oh yeah, okay. No, then that's fine. That's just a good basis to make sure that all the other characters get stronger. If you make new characters, like if you make a new Hayato or something, you could just put your leveling links on there and then just get that done a little bit faster. If that's not the most enjoyable part of your day, then it's good to have it not be a big part of your day. That's not super important. No. You do move around a lot, right? And that counts as moving. So the Ilium... do you have an Ilium?
I do. She's just like level 40 or something.
Yeah, that might actually give you... Because that stacks up to 12% damage if you keep moving, which I assume that you do at level 120. So that would be a big increase as well. So that will definitely be a good one to put on the list.
Do you think that's higher priority than like Demon Slayer? Because I think my Demon Slayer is like level... Or sorry, not Demon Slayer. Demon Avenger.
Demon Avenger is 10... Yeah, slightly higher priority, yeah. Because Demon Slayer at 120 would be 10%, and this one, if you keep up the link, it'll be 12%. So it'll be slightly higher, yeah. Be prepared for the intro, though. There's a lot of storyline in the beginning for Ilium. Yeah.
I actually kind of, I don't know, I kind of like the story for Ilium so far.
Okay, that's good.
And I recently, like, I put the free, like, hair coupons on her and stuff, and she looks really good now, so now I can play her.
Now you can actually look at your screen with
her character looks good.
It's not torture.
That military outfit actually is really cute, so...
Oh yeah, that is true. And like the hair that like covers your entire face except your mouth.
Oh yeah, I think she starts with that, and then you get like this pixie cut later, which looked okay, but the eyes they weren't the best. So I
you wanted to go back.
You know that coupon that we got from the pre-Awake event?
Yeah.
They had so many options. I picked some. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with how she looks now.
Okay.
I can play her again. Yep.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, so I would just maybe pick like if you pick a character to really level on that's newish, then I would just maybe not do too much in terms of Legion. Just that count that as your Legion's contribution for the day, and otherwise I would try to do like I said, like 2 or 3 characters at least to do Zakuman, and then just run in Zakum and then just log out again. And not do too much more. And if you feel like doing more, do more. But yeah, don't get burned out like Seth did. Try to keep it fun and try to, because you main a character because you enjoy that one the most. So just make sure that one keeps the emphasis and is the most important thing that you're focusing on.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, we're playing this for fun, right? Well, yeah. I don't know about that for most people. But...
Some people, it's way past that at this point.
But yeah. I mean, for me, that's the most fun part, is just like playing my character and using their attacks, like just doing their mechanics, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that covers most of it. Like your Legion setup is good. As you keep growing it, you just keep going in the general direction of where you're filling it. next block that you move into will probably be IED, and then if you do that, there might be some sources of IED that you can then lower out of, but this is like way down the line, right? This is if you're like 4, 5, 6k Legion, like this is at that point. So don't want to get into that too much because it's not really relevant for you right now. Is there anything among all this that you feel like I skipped over, or any questions that you had that you haven't had answered yet?
Nothing that was skipped over, but I was a little slow on the hyper stats thing. So if you could repeat what you said for that so that I can write it down, that would be helpful.
Oh yeah, basically the same as now, but you get 1 extra level in both damage and boss damage. And then you put the leftovers in attack.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So that's I think like 8, 10, what is it, 8, 10, 8, 9, and then 4 leftover, I think. If my maths are correct, might be off a little bit on the last one, but you should have leftover, and then, yeah. So it's priority leftover into attack, and then if you have anything left, then you can put them into strength technically. But if you level at a decent rate, you don't necessarily want to apply all of your points, because then it also means that if you have a decent amount of points, that you have to always reset everything, right, to go back. And sometimes it's better to do like what you're doing now, where you keep up to like 30 points free, and then whenever you have enough, you just do the level up instead of, you know, trying to min-max like 10 strength out of it and then having to pay 10 mil to redo it later. That's not that efficient. But yeah, it depends on your leveling speed.
Okay, yeah, I've got it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, if there's anything else, or you're like on Saturday itself and you're kind of in between where you wanted to go and you're not sure, should I spend a little bit more money, or is this good enough, and do I save up at this point? For like backup, you can always check the calculators for cubing and for star forcing to get like some kind of idea of how much things will cost.
Oh yeah, I always use that so I can set my expectations and expect to be sad ahead of time.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, Seth is pretty much the calculator guy too, so he probably has some advice in that direction as well, I would assume. Yeah, but if there's any specific advice you need later, you can always hit me up on Discord, or, you know, I'll be streaming, so you know where to find me.
Yep. Sounds good. Okay, cool. Yeah, it always helps to get some direction with this stuff. That's why, like, your content has been so helpful. Way more fun when you feel like you're actually getting somewhere slowly.
Yeah, some people need that feeling like way quicker, and then maybe some things and how I do them and how I present them is like not enough. They feel like they need everything now, and then it might feel like it falls short a little bit, or they need that extra last step to like, well, tell me what to do now, you know, like I need like step 1, 2, 3 so I can follow it. And I'm more like, well, here's the general way that the system works, and here's what you want to generally be working on, and then good luck. And then I kind of leave it there.
There's so much luck involved for after that, and sometimes it's like fun to figure it out or yourself, or try some stuff.
I like that. I like failing and then seeing that there's a lot more to learn. Like, I like that. Yeah, because if there's no failure, then I feel like that takes away some of the value that you can give to things that you can't get in any other way, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Right. And then I'll see you around and in chat. And best of luck on the upgrading and on the cubing Saturday. And then CVAL and HMAC will stand no chance.
Yeah, thank you. All right, have a good rest of your day.
Yes, thank you. You too. See ya.
Bye.
Oh. Wow. Wasn't that educational, chat? And viewers on YouTube, wow, so educational. If you would also love one of these long form or maybe a short form progression session, make sure you check the description of the stream and follow the necessary steps and contact me, and maybe you could be the next person on one of these sessions and become a pro gamer. God, this is so cringe. Okay. Hope it was educational. Hope you liked it. And make sure you check out my video I uploaded earlier today about the cubing session on Saturday, on what you can use to base your projections on how much you want to spend, where you want to spend it, kind of like what we went through with Ming here today. And yeah,